Hello CraftDee family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So CraftDee. Now for today's DIY projects, I have put together my very best home decor DIYs using the tumbling tower blocks in the Dollar Tree that I have created this year. Now these projects are not crafts you just throw together, but these are assembled thoughtfully to create that high-end look like it was purchased from the retailer. Now as always, I have included the complete supply list in the description box, as well as the link to the original tutorial so you can easily use it for reference as you gather your supplies. Now before we start, I do have to say hey to all of my subscribers, and if you are a new visitor to my channel today, I hope you consider subscribing as well and stick around to enjoy these crafts and to see all of the ways that I have styled these in my space. So now let's just jump right into all these awesome projects today. Now this project is a two-tier reversible display shelf. We're going to need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. We'll also need 4 of these wood trays from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to go ahead and grab all of our blocks and use a carpenter square or a ruler for this project. I'm also going to be using a piece of parchment paper. This will help me remove my pattern while the blocks are still drying without ruining the design. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and grab up some blocks, and what we want to do is we kind of want to form a herringbone type of design as shown here. Now we're going to have them about 5 blocks high. I'm just showing you an example of what the pattern will look like. You just want to make sure it's 5 blocks. So when I start building this, I'm going to build it with some wood glue because I want this to be sturdy. This will be a weight-bearing project, so make sure you use wood glue for this project. And I'm using the wood glue from the Dollar Tree, or you can use Gorilla Wood Glue. So now I'm starting to build up my herringbone design using the corner of my ruler, and I'm making sure I get a generous amount of that wood glue on there and just wipe away any excess that squeezes out of the seam until you have that design 5 blocks deep. Now I'm just going to rotate it, and then I'm just going to keep adding rows of 5 blocks, adding on so the design will be the length that I require. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that in with the glue. And then I'm going to add 5 more blocks, and I am going to continue this all the way down. You just want to make sure your design is 5 blocks high and make sure it's about 7 stacks across as shown here. Now we're going to be making 2 of these, so I want to go ahead and remove this from my work table. So this is where the parchment paper can be lifted up. I'm just sliding it on a piece of cardboard and sitting this to the side and making sure I don't disturb the drying of the project. So I just have another piece of parchment paper that I'm putting down, and I am going to build another one of the design 5 blocks high and 7 stacks across. Now when that's done, just go ahead and remove that as well and let them sit to the side to dry. Now while those are drying, go ahead and we are going to grab all of our wood crates, and these are going to be 2 across, so I want to make sure that the ends are matching up. If you know Dollar Tree, sometimes these can be a little bit weird in their sizing, so I'm just making sure they're even on their sides. So I'm taking 2 of the crates, and what I'm going to do is take more of that wood glue, and I am going to add wood glue to the side of one of the crates. And what I'm going to do is bond these close together because I want my shelf to be 2 crates wide. And I'm using these clips from the Dollar Tree. I love using these little clips. They're in the crafter square. This will hold those crates together while they are adhering. Just make sure that everything is nice and even. Now we're going to repeat the same thing for the other 2 crates as well, making sure that those are clipped together, and you want to set everything to dry for a few hours. So now that my sides are pretty dry and I can handle them, I'm going to go ahead and grab those, and this is what they will look like. I'm also going to go ahead and grab my crates as well, and they are nice and bonded so I can remove the clips from those. Now what I'm going to do is reinforce that connection between the two crates. So I am taking my staple gun and I'm just going to staple right inside of the crates so they're attached, and I'm applying 4 of those staples. This is just a little bit more reinforcement because that wood glue is already really strong, but I like to have a little bit more support and a little reinforcement in my projects. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to sit that 2-stack crate on the side. I want the bottom of my crate to be aligned with the bottom edge of those blocks as shown here. And I'm using a pencil to just make a line of where the top of those 2 crates are lining up. And I'm going to do that at the top of the stack as well. So you'll know where each one is going to sit on that stack of that herringbone block design there. So I'm putting down my ruler and then I'm grabbing my 2 tray crates again, and I'm going to put them back on the align, and this is where you could see how far left and right they will sit and make sure that they're even when you finally decide to glue them into place. So now that I know where I'm going to glue them, I'm adding glue to the side of the crates to sit on the sides. Now in retrospect, you should actually put the glue on the side support and not actually on the crates, but this worked for me. But definitely put it on the side support next time so you don't have any excess glue to wipe away. So we're going to do this for the top and the bottom, and make sure you're using that pencil line that you drew to make sure that they are evenly spaced on the vertical and the horizontal. Now once those 2 are in place, we're just going to glue the top one on right on top to make sure that that's in alignment as well. And here it is all glued into place. And what you want to do now is add some weight to the top and let that sit overnight. Now if you don't have a weight, you could definitely use some clips or clamps and make sure that sits for several hours overnight. So here it is the next morning. This shelf is really solid. The wood glue has dried. You can see how sturdy this is. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove all of the labeling from the bottom of those wood trays, because we are going to be preparing to stain this. Now before we do stain, I am going to take my staple gun one more time. Since my crates are now dried against the side supports, I am going to add some staples in there as well. So I'm going to add 4 staples, 2 on each side, inside the little trays as shown here. Now no worries about the staples in the side. You will not see these after it's stained, but it does provide that little extra support to make your project last. So now that all my staples are all in place and my shelf unit is now secure, I can go ahead and stain. Now I am going to be using my Waverly Antique Wax to stain these. Now if you want to use traditional wax, I suggest you stain all your pieces before you assemble it so you won't see the glue. But Waverly Antique Wax will cover the glue in these projects pretty well, so I decided to do my staining last since I knew I was going to use the wax. So I'm going to start by staining the inside of all of my trays first, and then once I apply the wax, you definitely want to follow up with a towel or a paper towel or rag and remove all of the excess wax so that antique look will really shine through in your project. Now you're just going to continue this and stain the inside of all of your trays on your shelf. Now once all of the insides are done, we're going to do the outsides and the front and back of those trays as well. And this is those all completed. And then finally, you can do the side supports with the wax. Now here is the entire unit all nice and stained. It's still kind of wet, but you want it to sit to completely dry. And then once it is dry, you can decorate it. And check it out, you guys. Okay, here is my shelf decorated in my master bath. Now I've added some towels, some trinkets, and decor to these shelves, and I love how it looks. The Waverly Antique Wax looks so awesome on the wood, and it really gives this piece a warm and cozy spa look. And let me tell you, the zigzag accent on this piece is the icing on the cake. This shelf design looks so amazing. Now, even though I decorated this for a bath, there are so many other ways that you could use this piece. Now, if you are into farmhouse decor, here is a cute way to display your items. Now, I absolutely love using combinations of white with the greenery, and it really makes the decor in your display really pop. And you could cater this shelf to any design that you really love. And since this is a reversible shelf, there's other ways to display it. You can flip it over and make it into a cute coffee bar. Now, I love this to-go style coffee bar, and it has all of my favorites ready to go for a busy lifestyle. Now, this is only a few ideas of ways to use this shelf, but the possibilities are really endless with this design. Now, you all have to let me know what you think about this shelf and how you would use it in your home. This project is a 3-piece multi-purpose candle stand decor. Now, we're going to be needing some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. Okay, well, we're going to grab our blocks, and we're going to start with 3 blocks. What we're going to do is we are going to be gluing these side by side. I'm using my wood hot glue. You can use regular wood glue if you like. So once we get those 3 pieces glued side to side, this is one of the blocks we'll use, and we are going to be making 4 sets of these, and here they are. The next set of blocks we're going to be using is 6 blocks. So I'm going to glue all 6 together. Here is what one of those pieces look like, and again, we're going to be making 4 of these. The next set of blocks we'll be using are 9 blocks. Continue to use the glue to adhere all of these together, and we are going to be making 4 of these. And here they are, ready to go. Now, the last set of blocks we'll be joining together are sets of 10, which is actually 2 rows of 5, and this will be our platforms. So we're going to join all of these together. And here it is, we're going to be making 3 of these. And now all of our blocks are put together for our project. So we're going to start assembling our towers. So what I'm going to do is I am going to be joining and making a square out of each set that I have made. So I'm starting off with my 3 block set. I'm going to be gluing one of the panels on each side of the base as shown here. Now, once the 2 sides are on there, I'm going to take that last piece and just sit it on top where you have an open cube. Just add more of your glue and sit that last piece on top. Now, you do want to make sure that your blocks are going horizontal for this project, and this is what one of your blocks will look like. And once that's done, you want to repeat this process for your sets of 6 blocks and your sets of 9 blocks. So here are all 3 of my towers all ready to go. So now what we're going to take is our 10 block sets, which are our platforms. We are going to be adhering those towers to the bottom of the platforms. We just want to add our glue and make sure that that is centered right in the middle there, so it'll be nice and even. Now here's our shorter one. We're going to repeat this for our 6 and 9 block set as well. And now we have our 3 towers all fully assembled. And now the fun part, it's time to stain. So I'm going to be using my Waverly Antique Wax, and I am going to be adding stain on the bottom. Now I will be getting inside of that tower at the bottom as well. You'll see why later, but I am going to add the wax on the inside and outside of the entire piece. And here's one piece all fully stained and wiped away with a cloth. And now all you have to do is stain the other 2 pieces. And now all 3 of them are stained and ready to go, and just allow them to dry. And once dry, here you have it, 3 beautiful wood candle stands for your space. Now I love the look of these, and they look so stylish in my space. The color is also so perfect for my relaxation, and as simple as these are, there are so many ways that you can style these. Now you can simply swap around the order by playing with the different heights, and it's so much fun with these pieces. Or how about flip them over and add a succulent to these and display them as planters? Now these are so nice when displayed this way as well, and the tops become the perfect platform for this arrangement when flipped over. You could just arrange them however makes your heart happy. Now there's another option, and that is to stack these. Now you can make a cute tower and planter combo as shown here for a different look. Now this project is a decorative wood box. We're going to need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. Also some cork craft sticks from Lowe's for 98 cents. So we're going to grab up all of our pre-stained blocks and our carpenter square ruler. Now the first set of blocks we're going to be joining together is we're going to grab up 9 blocks. And what we're going to do is we're going to be making 4 sets of these 9 blocks, but we're going to join these together side by side, and I'm going to be using my wood hot glue, or you could use a regular wood glue if you like. Now as I join these side to side, I want to flip them, and this kind of keeps them even for me and keeps them from waving. So I'm just going to make sure I join all of them together, and here is one of my 9 block sets, and repeat it until you have a total of 4. Now the next set of blocks we're going to be joining together are 3 blocks in a row as shown here, and we're just going to join them together end to end. Now as you join these together, you just wipe away that hot glue. You just want to make sure it's nice and even. Now this is what it will look like, and you want to repeat this until you have 4 sets of 3. Now the last set of blocks is going to be a little different. We're going to be staggering these blocks, so go ahead and grab 9 blocks, and I'm just going to place them side by side, one higher than the other. Now I'm just going to go ahead and start joining these all together with my glue, but there is a method to finishing this very even. Now as I was working, all you have to do is when you want to add a new block and make sure it's even, flip the entire set over and add that next block by adding a strip of the glue on the side and sticking it next to it, making sure you use your ruler to make sure it's even. This way all the blocks on the top and all the blocks on the bottom will be nice and even, and just repeat this process until you're done. And now you have one completed 9 block staggered set. Now we're going to make a total of 4 of these, and here are all 4 of them all completed and ready to go. So now that all of our pieces are ready for our box, we can start assembling it. So grab a staggered piece and one of the 3 block sets, and we're going to join the 3 block set right on top. You just want to make sure the top of the box has the 4 blocks sticking up, and then glue that 3 block set right on top to form the top of our box. Now we're just going to repeat this for the remaining 3 sets until we have all 4 tops of our box. Now this is the bottom of the box, which is the 9 block set, and we're just going to join that staggered piece right on top of there. Again, using our wood hot glue at the end of all of those blocks, and then pressing that firmly on top of your 9 block set. And now that we've done that, this is one side of our box, and once we repeat that, we have all 4 sides of our box completely assembled. So now we can put the box together, and we're just going to lay out our pieces to make sure they're nice and even, and then I'm going to place one piece on top of the other right at the corner, making sure it's all matching up as shown here. Just apply a strip of your wood hot glue or wood glue right on top, and then press it firmly to the top side of the piece below it. Now once you hold that in place for about 5 or 10 seconds, you see that that is joined, and then you can flip it around and add your other side. And once that side is added, here's what it looks like. Now just add some hot glue on each of the other exposed 2 sides and place the final piece on the end to close it all in. And now you have your completed 4-sided box that looks so fancy. So now just flip it over to the bottom, and again we're going to use our stained Lowe's craft sticks to cover up the bottom. Now I love using these craft sticks to do this, and I find it super easy. You can definitely make the bottoms out of the more blocks if you like, but I like using the craft sticks. It just seems so much easier, and it does come out to be super sturdy. So what I'm doing is adding that wood glue on each side as I add a craft stick, pressing it firmly in place, and I'm going to do this all the way down. Now, it's okay if it overlaps one end because we will be trimming it off, but you do want to make sure that they're nice and secure with plenty of glue, and then pressing that firmly into place and making sure all the sticks are close together. Now once that's done, go ahead and grab your cutting mat again, and you're going to grab your utility blade and then trim off all of the overlapped craft sticks on each side of the box. And here's our box with the edges all nice and trimmed and ready to go. So now just take your wood stain and stain all of your exposed ends and also that cut bottom edge. Now while that dries, I'm going to assemble a lid. So I'm going to make a lid for my box, and I decided to do this at the last minute, but I thought it would be a good idea. So I'm going to go ahead and grab 9 blocks, and we are going to join these together. We're going to do a total of 3 sets of these. Again, we're just going to join these together the same way we did for the build of the box, just joining them together side to side, just making sure they're pressed firmly together. Now here's one all put together, and we're going to make a total of 3, and here they are ready to go. Now the next set of blocks we're going to be joining are some 3-block sets, and we are only going to be making 2 of these. And here are those 2 3-block sets all put together. So now we can assemble our lid. So we're going to lay out all of our 9-block sets, making sure that they line up even together. And we're going to place one of those 3-block sets in between each one of them as shown here to make our lid. And now it's all a matter of gluing everything together, and I'm going to be using my wood hot glue, just joining each piece together, making sure that if you have any overlap of that glue, make sure that's all cleaned up, because when you go in and you touch up with your stain, the stain will not penetrate the hot glue. So you want to make sure all your gluing is nice and even and there is no overage coming out of the seams. So now that everything is glued together, here is what your lid top will look like. So now what I wanted to do is put in some bumpers. So I'm flipping it over to the bottom of the lid, and I'm taking my box and I'm just sitting it on top of the lid to figure out where I want the inside bumpers to be so my lid does not slide off my box. Now to do this, I'm just going to be joining 2 blocks together for each side of my bumper, and I'm going to be making 4 of these in the shape of a square. Now once you have them laid out approximately where you want them, you just want to add some hot glue to them and secure them in place. Now you could have traced the outside of the box onto the bottom of the lid, but I'm kind of just eyeballing it and getting an idea of where it will fit so the lid won't slide off my box if I happen to move my box around my space. Now all 4 of my bumpers are now secured, and I'm testing the fit, and it is perfect for the box. And now all we have to do is flip it over, and we're going to add a little handle. And this is just a really simple handle. All we're doing is joining 4 blocks together, 2 blocks side by side, and then stacked. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue 2 sets of 2 blocks together, and then once those 2 sets of 2 blocks are glued, just glue one on top of the other to make a little handle that you can grab. And when this is all put together, this is really solid. And now that that's done, all you have to do is hot glue it in the center of your lid. Just add plenty of hot glue to make sure that that stays right in place. And once that dries, it's nice and secure. You can put your lid on top of your box, and look, it all fits perfectly and it's good to go. And now just go in and stain all the raw edges of your lid, and this project is ready. And check it out. You have a beautiful box that you can use as a decorative planter box. Now I placed a faux potted plant inside, and I just love how sweet it looks. Now this is just one of many ways to display this box too. Now, like all the other pieces in this collection, you could add some lighting as well and use this as a lighted box. Now I simply added some battery tea lights inside for a little lantern style look. Now if you wanted to add some of the frosted matte liner, you could do that to this box as well. Now for the storage option, just add the lid to make a fancy covered box. Now I just love the design of this, and you can add so many different things to the box to decorate it. Now here I just placed some rolled up extra hand towels inside for my space, and this is just one of the great ideas for a bath. Now with the size of this box, there are so many other things that you can do with it. You all have to let me know what ways and what style would you use for this box in your space. Now this project is a modern tray and wood stand. We're going to need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. We're also going to need a large gift box lid from the Dollar Tree, and I had some left over from some previous projects. Now, as you can see, these boxes are really thick and sturdy. I have a 32-ounce full can of paint here, and you can see this box lid is holding it up without a problem. So I'm going to be using this as a tray. Now, what I'm going to do is I am actually going to take this out, and I'm going to prime it on both sides with my Zinsser 123. And then once it dries, here it is after 30 minutes. And now we can go ahead and put our final coat on. And I'm going to be using some satin black spray paint by Krylon. Now I'm going to put about 2 coats on both sides. Now while that dries, we're going to work on our stand, and I have some pre-stained tumbling tower blocks already, and these were stained with early American stain. So I'm grabbing my carpenter square and a little piece of parchment paper so I'll be able to move my design around. So what I'm going to do is start putting my blocks together. Now you definitely want to use wood glue for this project. This stand needs to support a tray, so we're going to actually definitely use the wood glue, and I'm using the wood glue from Dollar Tree, which works great. So I'm going to glue 4 blocks together side by side as shown here, and to squeeze them together tightly and allow them to dry. Now you want to complete 4 of these 4 block sets. Now the next set of blocks we're going to be joining together are some 5 block sets. So I'm gathering up 5 blocks side by side, just like we did with the 4 block set, and we will be gluing these together side by side with that wood glue as well. And here are all 5 block sets ready to go. Now the next and final wood block set we're going to join together, we're going to join together 4 sets of 4 block sets stacked up as shown here. Now this will work as the legs, so you definitely want to use the wood glue for these as well. And we're going to make 4 of those sets. So here's one all glued together. I've let it sit for about 10 minutes. This is what it looks like. And now you just want to complete a total of 4. And here they all are ready to go, and you want to allow all your sets to dry. Now once everything is nice and dry and can be handled, we can put our tray together. So we're taking 2 of the 4 block sets on the sides, and then we're going to put all 3 of the 5 block sets in between them and sandwich them in. You want to make sure they're all spaced evenly. Now you want to join these together at each one of the connections with wood glue. And here it is after 10 minutes, almost ready and set. Now the next set of blocks, we're going to lay down 2 of the 4 block sets, and then we're going to grab those double stack sets and place one upright on each one of the corners for the legs. Now to show you how I did this, I just propped one of the 4 block sets on its side and then add the 2 legs as shown here. You're going to adhere these together with wood glue as well, and here are the 2 U-shaped leg pieces. So once the frame part is complete, we can add our legs at each corner as shown here. And now all you have to do is secure these with wood glue and let them sit for a few hours and make sure they are nice and solid. So here is our stand after about 2 hours, and it's pretty solid, but you definitely want to let it cure, but it's solid enough we could craft with. Now, if you like, you could go ahead and take some of those stained craft sticks and lay them across the top if you want a wood finish top, and that's totally an option. But since I made a tray, I'm going to use my tray, and here it is complete with those 2 coats of that satin spray paint, and the tray looks great. Now you just go ahead and grab your stand here, and then we're just going to sit our tray right on top. And as you can see, it looks really cute together. I just love how this looks right on top, and plus you can remove the tray if you want to carry any items that are on top of it. So now it's time to decorate, and here I flipped the tray over and I put a couple of decorative pieces on there, and these are just a couple of items that I got from the Dollar Tree that I spray painted black to kind of go with my masculine theme. Now, if you flip that tray lid over, it can be a beverage station. So I used tea for my little display here, and this would be just the perfect little beverage area for the corner of the room. And I did add those items there. I just think that this has so much beauty and masculinity in it, and it'd be perfect for your guys' little relaxation space. Now let me know what you think about this project in the comments below. Now this project is a set of modern framed art. We're going to need some of these peel and stick wall decor pieces from the Dollar Tree, some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree, some of these larger craft sticks from the Dollar Tree, and we're also going to need some foam board from the Dollar Tree. Now we're going to start off with the tumbling tower blocks. We're going to grab a carpenter square and start putting some blocks together. Now the first set of blocks is 4 blocks end to end, and I'm just going to hot glue these together with my wood glue, and you can definitely use wood glue or wood hot glue. It doesn't matter, whatever you choose for this project. So I'm going to glue them all end to end until I have 4 blocks adhered together. Now here is my 4 block set all nice and adhered, and you want to do this 4 times because we want 4 sets of these 4 blocks, and here are all 4 sets all nice and made. So the next set of blocks we are going to join together end to end are sets of 5. We're going to join them together the same exact way, just like this, and we are going to make 4 sets of these as well. Now for the next 2 sets, we are going to join 6 blocks together, and we're going to need 4 of those, and we're going to join 7 blocks together, and we're going to need 4 of those as well. And here are both of those sets all ready to go for our project. So we're going to start making our frames. We're going to start off with the smaller frame, which is the 4 and 5 block sets. So the 2 4 block sets will go on the top and bottom, and we're going to sandwich in the 5 block set in between to make sure it fits our project. Now we're just going to join these together at the ends, again making sure that the 5 block sets are sandwiched in between those 4 block sets. Just add your glue and press it firmly in place for about 5 seconds, making sure it's aligned perfectly at a right angle using that carpenter square. Now once that does dry, you're just going to rotate it around and continue to add our pieces all the way around until we form a complete frame. Now adding those last dots of that wood hot glue, we're going to adhere it to that 4 block set, and now we have one of our smaller frames. So what we're going to do now is take our other sets, and then we're going to make another small frame. And now we have 2 of our small frames all ready to go. So now we're going to work on our larger frame. Now this is going to have the 6 block sets at the bottom and the 7 block sets sandwiched in between them the same way. And we're going to do this for 2 frames as well. And here are our 2 frames all put together. So now we have the 2 large frames and we have the 2 smaller frames for our project. Now what I'm going to do is protect my work surface, and I want to paint my frames. Now I'll be painting them with some black acrylic paint. Now I'm just going to apply this. I like to start with the inside of the frame, then I move on to the outside of the frame, and then once those are done, I lay it flat and then I do the surface. Now what I want to do is repeat this for all of my frames and make sure they sit to completely dry. Now once they're about dry, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my antique wax and all of my craft sticks, and I'm just going to start staining one side of my craft sticks. Now I did initially grab about 40 or 50 of them to stain. I had a different idea in mind, but I ended up using a lot less, but I had a lot left over for other future projects, so I'm just going to let them sit to all completely dry. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our piece of foam board and we are going to grab our small frame. Now I'm just going to nestle it right in the corner and then trace the edges where I have a piece that's exactly the size of the outside of the frame, and I'm going to trace this on that foam board twice. Now once I have it traced on there twice, I'm going to take my utility blade with a nice fresh blade in there, and then I am going to cut it out of that foam board, making sure it's a straight line using the assistance of a ruler. Now here's one of those pieces, and now just cut out that second one we traced at the bottom. So now we have our 2 pieces, and these are the exact size of the frame, but we're going to need to trim them down so it doesn't overlap the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off a 1/2 inch off the short side and a 1/2 inch off the long side. Now when you trim this down, this makes it fit perfectly on the back of the frame, so if the frame will actually overlap the foam board just perfectly. Now once both pieces are nice and trimmed, we can go ahead and we're going to add our frames and our peel and stick designs to them. So go ahead and grab one of your smaller frames, and we are going to nestle it right on top of that foam board. So just flip it over to the back, and when this fits on, you should see the overlap of the frame. So you're going to add a thin bead of that wood hot glue around the frame, and then carefully sit that foam board right on top, making sure you can see the edge of the frame around there, and then repeat that for the second one, and now you have your 2 frames. So then you can take your peel and stick, and you want to carefully just apply it to that foam board right in the center and then smooth it completely out. You want to do that for both of your decorative pieces of choice. And here are both pieces. Now these look amazing just like this, just framed with a single frame, but I wanted to amp it up with a double frame. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grab all of my stained craft sticks, and I'm going to grab one of my larger frames. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the frame face down, and then I'm going to put my framed picture face down right in the center, and I want it to be centered right in the middle. So I'm going to start cutting my craft sticks, and I'm going to first apply 4 cut craft sticks into the corner as shown here, just making sure that you have an edge on the middle frame and an edge on the outer frame. This will help center the piece and help you while you're working on your project. So I'm just going to add just a dot of hot glue on each side and then apply those corner pieces in place. You just want to keep in mind that everything needs to be centered, and then you can move on with your project. So once all corners are secured, I'm just going over and flipping it, just do just a quality check, and everything looks great. Now you can add as many craft sticks in the center, but what I decided to do was to add 3 craft sticks on each side. So I started with the middle, and I'm just going to put 2 on each side. That way there's 3 pieces of craft stick that I've cut down on each side. And then you just want to hot glue those in place the same way, and here is the final result. I love how this looks. I think it just amps up the look so much. So now to hang these, I'm just going to grab a cut piece of jute twine and I'm going to apply the ends with some hot glue, and you want to allow that to dry. And once it dries, I'm taking a piece of some just regular craft paper and I'm adding hot glue on it and I'm applying it over the ends of that jute twine. I just think it just makes it look so professional when it's finished. Now here's your loop to hang it all nice and dry, and now just repeat this for your other frame. And here you have it, both of your frames all nice and complete, and now you can hang them up in your space. And there you have it, two beautiful art pieces that you can display in your space. Now I just love these prints from the Dollar Tree for this frame, and you can definitely make this for any art of your choosing. Now I do think the double frame really amps up the look for these pieces, and it highlights the beautiful natural colors of the art. You all have to let me know if you're going to give this double frame design a try. I really hope that you all are enjoying these crafts so far, but I wanted to pop in really quick and let you all know that you could follow me on all of these platforms as CraftDee. So now let's jump right into that next DIY. Now this project is for a set of multi-purpose wood stands. Now we're going to need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. We're also going to need some cork craft sticks from Lowe's for 98 cents. Now I'm going to grab my blocks, and I've already pre-stained these, and for these I stained them in Early American stain. And you're also going to grab your carpenter square ruler to make sure everything is even. Now the first set of blocks will be joined together are blocks of 2, and we can use a wood hot glue or you can use wood glue for this, but for this project I will be using the wood hot glue. So I'm just going to join the 2 blocks end to end, squeezing them together tightly, and make sure you wipe away any glue that oozes out of the seam. And here is your 2 block set. Now we're going to repeat this until we have 18 sets, and here are 18 sets of 2 blocks for one stand. Now I did make an additional 18 block set over here because I wanted 2 stands today, but you just want to make 18 2 block sets for each stand you wish to create. So now we can start building our stand. So I'm going to put them together and stack them as shown here. Now we just want to make sure all the ends are nice and even. So I'm just going to add a dot of that wood hot glue on each end, and I'm just going to stack some horizontal 2 block sets on the vertical 2 block sets to form a square. Now once that's done, we're just going to keep rotating and repeating this pattern all the way up until all 18 blocks are used, and this is what you will turn out of that project. Now I'm just going to repeat this for the second set, and now you have 2 of the stands all put together. So to cover up the bottoms, I'm going to use some of those Lowe's 98-cent craft sticks. Now I've already pre-stained these in Early American as well. So to adhere them, all I'm going to use is my wood hot glue, and I'm just going to lay the craft sticks over the bottom of each one of the stands. You just want to make sure that they're overlapping each edge because we will end up trimming this off to make the ends nice and even. So here is the bottom. It only took 4 craft sticks to cover the bottom, and now I'm just going to grab the cutting mat. And now this little cutting mat is from Dollar Tree. I love using it. And I'm taking my utility blade and I'm just going to drag it across the top of those craft sticks 2 or 3 times, and they will snap right off nice and even to form this nice even straight edge. Just repeat this all the way around your stand, and now you have a nice trimmed edge around it. So you're just going to repeat this for your second stand, and now both sets are nice and done and trimmed off. And all you have to do now is take your stain and touch up all your cut edges and your raw ends of your wood to make sure everything blends together. Now I did decide to make a shelf as well, and to make the shelf I'm going to be making 7 blocks 8 block sets for this. So it's going to be 7 across with 8 blocks high, and I'm going to have each individual one. Now, if you want to make this, definitely use wood glue for this project. This is a shelf. It will be weight bearing, and you do want it to be super strong. So just go ahead and grab those rows, glue them all together. And once it's all glued, I'm just taking a baby wipe and wiping away all that excess wood glue and let that sit to completely dry. Now for the inside of my stands, I wanted to use these chopping mats from Dollar Tree. Now they recently came out with this milky white one, but these are the ones we're used to, the ones that are more transparent. Now I'm just going to go ahead and take them out of the package and you could see the difference. I think the transparent ones are starting to go out of production and the new ones are going to be the milky white ones. So if you want more transparent ones, grab them up while you see them because they may not be available for long. But I'm going to use both of them in this project today so you guys can kind of see the difference in the finished project. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my stands and I'm going to measure the inside of it and also the height of the stand to figure out how long of a piece that I'll need to cut it. So I went ahead and made a template and I measured out that the piece needs to be 9 5/8 inches long and about 3 1/4 inches high. So what I'm going to do is cut 2 pieces out of each one of those chopping mats, and here we go. I have them all cut out and ready to go. So now what I'm going to do is take the chopping mat cutout and I'm just going to fold it in half and pinch the corners where that middle point is, just as a marker. And then I'm going to take the side and fold it right into that center mark too. So what this will do, we're going to do this on each side so we'll have 4 equal sections. And then to make sure we have a nice fold line, I'm taking that embossing tool that I got from the Dollar Tree and I'm going along those folds just to make sure they're nice and marked, and then you just have to fold along those lines and it's nice and straight. Now if they're not getting as flat as you like to, if you do have like a boning tool, a bone folding tool, you could just drag it along and it'll get your creases nice and straight. So now that it forms a square, all you have to do is stick it inside of your stands and push it over to the side, and you'll see the inside is nice and lined with that chopping mat for a frosted look. Now I'm doing this again for the white ones, and here are the white ones that I'm putting in there, and you'll see that that one gives a more milky color. So now just grab up all your pieces, your stands, your shelf piece that's nice and dry, and then grab your inserts and we can set this up on a display. Now here is my set of wood stands and I have them displayed as planters. Now I placed some 97-cent Boxwood bundles in these and I love this finished look. Now I love Jacobean stain, but this early American stain is perfect for the spring and it looks so beautiful on the blocks. Now there are so many other ways to display these stands as well. Now here, all I did was just flip them over and placed a few battery candles on top to make candle stands. Now I really love this look as well, and you can use a real candle in a glass container on top as well. Now I really think that this is such a stylish way to style these holders in your space. And then there's the option of adding your transparent chopping mat liner and some battery votives to make these mini lanterns. Now I think that these will look so amazing on a side table or vanity with a really soft glow. Now you can even stack these lantern styles one on top of the other for a taller lantern look. Now for this version, I've placed the milky white chopping mat liners in with some Dollar Tree fairy lights for this bright sparkle lantern. Now I do love the opacity of this matte version, and it does soften the lighting just a bit. Now you can cut an additional square of the mat to cover the top too, if you like. Now this makes a great option for a nightlight too. And just like the other ones, of course, you can stack them on top of each other and flip the top one over to make a tall, lighted stand. Now I'm really loving the versatility of these pieces and the many ways you can style them. And of course, if a lighted stand isn't your thing, you could always remove the lights and enjoy the simplicity and natural look of a wood stand. Now I think this looks so great with a small vining plant on top, allowing those leaves just to flow down the sides. I just think it's so sweet and organic for your space. So now grab your wood block plank and place it on top of your stands for a tabletop shelf. Now how sweet would this be to use on a vanity top or for use near a master bath area? And I just love all of the spa vibes of this piece, and it's so easy and fun to make. You all have to definitely let me know what you think of this shelf version of the stands. Now instead of spreading them apart, you could always have the wood stands placed close together too. Now either way would be great to display all of your favorite themed decor pieces. And then finally, why not flip it upside down and place the wood stands on top too? You guys, there are so many ways to style this piece, but let me know in the comments which way to style it is your favorite today. This is a set of modern candle stands. Now for this project, we're going to be needing some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. So I am again going to be using my early American stained tumbling blocks that I have already prepared for the project. So grab your carpenter square, and we first want to grab up 10 blocks with 2 sets of 5, one on top of the other as shown here to make this platform. So what we're going to do is we're going to be making 4 of these 10 block sets. Now you can use a wood glue for this, or you can use a wood hot glue for this, but of course I'll always recommend you use a wood glue for the longest, most hardy and strongest bond. I'm using my wood hot glue just to save some time, but this will work for a project. So I'm just going to start joining my wood block pieces together, just adding a line of glue on each side. Now the process is the same whether you use wood glue or wood hot glue. So I'm grabbing 2 of those block pieces that are joined together, and now I'm going to join them right down to center to make a completed platform. Now when you join these 2 together, just press them firmly in place and wipe away any hot glue that may ooze out of that seam. And now you have one completed platform, and just repeat this until you have a total of 4. Now for the next set of blocks, we are going to use the natural unstained blocks for this part. So we're just going to, first of all, we're going to grab 8 blocks, 2 sets of 4, one on top of the other, because we will be stacking these as shown here. Now we're going to make a total of 5 of these, and we're going to join these together with your wood glue or wood hot glue, whatever you choose. Just join them side by side to make those 2 sets of 4. Now once you have your 2 sets of 4, we're just going to stack them on top of each other, add your glue in between them, a generous amount, and then squeeze the stack together. Now you do want to make sure you rotate and make sure you squeeze together because you want this to be completely even. Now we're going to repeat this until you have a total of 5. Now the next set of blocks with the natural blocks we are going to join together is a total of 4 stacked together as shown here. Now we're going to make a total of 7 of these. So we're going to join a set of 2 blocks together. And once you have 2 sets joined together, we are going to stack these right on top of each other, just like we did for our 8 block sets, to kind of make a little cube. So we can just squeeze that together and make sure you squeeze and rotate to make sure all the sides are even. Now you want to repeat this until you have 7. Now that all the pieces are nice and glued together, we can start organizing and assembling our candle stands. So we're going to rotate the pieces, always starting with that 4-block set, and we're going to put 3 4-block sets and 3 8-block sets on the first one, and then we're going to put 4 4-block sets and 3 8-block sets on the second one, as shown here. So we're going to start joining everything together, and for this, you definitely want to use your wood glue. Wood glue is the strongest bond, and since this will be supporting some weight, definitely use your wood glue. So put a generous amount in there, and you want to carefully center each portion in the center of each one in the stack. Now we're going to repeat this all the way up for the short candlestick, and this is what it looks like after sitting for about 10 minutes. You just want to handle it very carefully and just make sure everything is nice and even. So we're going to repeat this for the taller one, and here are both of them assembled, and you want to allow them to dry. Now once they are completely dry, we can start to paint them. So I am going to be painting these black. So I'm going to be using some of this black acrylic paint. Now I'm going to sit my tops and bottoms over to the side. Now I'm just going to apply 1 coat of this black acrylic paint all over it. You definitely only need 1 coat because this coverage of this apple barrel black really covers well. Now when you paint this, you don't want to paint the top or the bottom edge because this will be bonded to the platforms, and here they are all painted, and you want to allow them to sit and completely dry. So once they're nice and dry, we can start the next step of adding the platforms. Now again, when you do add the platforms, you want to make sure it's nice and centered in the middle. Now to bond these, you definitely want to use your wood glue as well. Wood glue is the strongest glue, and you want to make sure you apply a generous amount of that. And when you apply it, just lay it down and center it, and you definitely want to push and hold for about a couple minutes just to make sure that that bond is starting to secure. Now once that bottom one is in, you can put the top one in and then repeat for both of them. Now this is them sitting for about 20 minutes. You want to allow them to completely and thoroughly dry before decorating them. Now once they do dry, you can go in and you can actually touch up any raw edges with that stain as well, so everything blends in. And here's everything blended and ready to go, and now all you have to do is to decorate your beautiful pieces. And oh my goodness, you guys, here are the candle stands, and I really love the styling of these. Now this project is a wood multi-purpose basket. We're going to be using some Tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree and some craft sticks from Lowe's for 98 cents. So gather up your blocks, grab your carpenter square, and the first set of blocks we'll be joining together are 5 blocks side to side. Now for this project, we will be using our wood hot glue. You could use a regular wood glue if you want, but it's not necessary. We're going to go ahead and use our hot glue, and then we're going to glue the pieces side to side, making sure we flip the row as we go to make sure our pieces are nice and even. Now here is that 5 block set, and you want to continue this and make 6 sets of these, and here they are ready to go. Now the next set of blocks we'll be joining together are just sets of 2, just joining these end to end. Now we're going to be making a total of 6 of these as well. So now we're going to start building up our basket. So take 3 of those 5 block sets and lay them out lined up against your carpenter square, and then add 6 single blocks right on top of one of the 5 block sets. Now we want to space these nice and even. We want to have one on each end, and then each block in between will be placed at a seam in the 5 block set as shown here. We're just going to take our wood stick hot glue, and we are just going to join those in place very carefully, making sure you wipe away any glue that oozes out. And this is important so it doesn't show up in your finished project. Now here is what they look like all attached to one of those pieces. And now we're just going to sandwich that in with another one of those 5 block sets right on top, just add a dot of that glue right on top of each one of those, and then adhere that 5-block set right on top. So now for that last 5-block set, again, we are just going to add those 6 blocks there. We're going to adhere them to the set as shown here, making sure everything is even. Close it in with another 5-block set, and here is the long side panel of the basket. So now we're just going to repeat this again and make sure we have 2 side panels. So now we're going to take those 2-block sets and we're going to stack 3 in a row, this time only using 3 blocks in between each one of the rows, and we're just going to join this the same way we did for our larger side panels. Now here is one ready to go, just make one more. And now you have all of your panels ready and good to go, and you can put your basket together. We're going to start with that large panel, and then what we're going to do is we're going to sit one of the end panels right on top of the edge, and we're just going to add glue to the side there and sit it right on top, making sure that each one of those edges is perfectly aligned. Once that's adhered, flip it around and add the other one on the other side. And then finally, all you have to do is close in your basket, add a strip of hot glue along the edges, and then place that last panel right on top. Just press it really firmly, make sure it's nice and secure, and at the top and ends are nice and even. And there you go. I'm flipping it around to show you this glue is really strong. This basket isn't going anywhere. So now what we're going to do is close in the bottom, and this is where those craft sticks come into play. We're going to lay these across the bottom of the basket. All we have to do is add our hot glue and start placing those sticks right across the bottom one at a time. You don't want to add a strip of glue too long. That way it doesn't sit out and start to dry before you get to a craft stick. Just add one at a time, making sure you press them firmly in, and that'll make sure the bottom will be super secure. So here are all of my sticks right in place. You want to make sure they do overlap because we're going to go in and trim these away. So now just grab your cutting mat and we're going to start trimming away. So I'm just going to be using my utility blade. You can get these from any hardware store or even the Dollar Tree has these. I'm just going to run my blade across the outside of the basket, trimming off all of the excess overage of those craft sticks. And this makes such a nice clean cut. It just appears so natural. So just do that all the way around your basket until everything is nice and trimmed and even. Then just go in with a piece of sandpaper and just make sure all the edges are nice and smooth, and you remove any splinters or any pieces of wood that may be stray. And there you go. Here is your completed basket. So now what we're going to do is stain the basket. Now, keeping with the colorway, I am still using the antique wax. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply this all over this outside. So I'm starting on the outside front panel. I'm going to start just spreading it randomly. And then every once in a while, you want to stop and wipe away all of the excess before it dries, because this will create a nice even surface. So here is the outside of the basket, one of the sides stained, and we want to do this all the way around the outside and inside. And then finally, we're just going to add some more of that antique wax on the inside bottom of the basket. And then again, making sure you wipe away off all of that excess wax to make sure it's nice and smooth. And then flip it over and stain the bottom. And once everything is nice and stained, here is what everything looks like, and just sit it to the side to completely dry. Now, another option for this basket is to have frosted panels. So I'm going to be using Dollar Tree chopping mats for this. I'm going to remove them from the package, and for this project, you really only need one of the chopping sheets. So using my cutting mat as a guide, I'm going to cut 2 pieces at 3 3/4 by 5.5 inches, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces 8 3/4 by 5.5 inches. Now this is the inside dimensions of my basket. Yours may vary slightly, but this is pretty on point if you use the tumbling tower blocks. So I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to cut out those squares and outline those squares on my chopping mat. As you can see here, I have the 2 smaller squares drawn out and I have the 2 larger squares. Now you could just cut these out with a pair of scissors, and here are all 4 of my pieces for my inside panel. And all I'm going to do is take a small and a large panel, and I'm just going to be taping these together with some clear Scotch tape. And then next to that large panel, add another small panel. We're just going to tape that on. Now keep in mind I'm working with the matte side facing you and the shiny side down. And then finally add that last large side. Now I'm folding in the excess tape, and you could cut it off if you like. So now I'm just going to fold in the ends where those 2 ends meet and add that final piece of tape so it's one continuous loop. Just go ahead and tape that in place as well. And then once everything is firmly in place, you could pop open your rectangle and you can see now it's in the shape of a rectangle, which is the shape of your basket. And then you can go ahead and do your test fit. I'm just going to grab my basket and then I'm going to stick my panel right on the inside of there. It should fit inside perfect if you measured correctly and use those measurements. And as you can see, it does look nice, and there you go. You have a frosted panel if you want to have that option for your basket. And so here is my basket. It's all decked out in goodies in my space. Now I just put a few of my decor items in there, but you could place crafts, magazines, or whatever you like in your basket. And I just love the look of how Dollar Tree wood looks stained. Now, of course, this is just one way to use this cute little basket in your space. Now, you can flip this over and use the bottom as a platform for your decor as well. Now, I really do love the idea of using this decorative riser for display for different types of home decor. And you can place things inside the basket cage too. And of course, there's always another look, especially if you're looking for lighting. Now you can place some battery candles or tea lights inside for another unique look. And don't forget, you can just insert your frosted panels and now you have a softer ambient glow. Now this look is probably my favorite for this particular piece, with the lighting peeking through those basket panes. Then of course you can flip that over as well to have a lighted platform base. Now this was so much fun to design and create. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments below. Now this project is a wood and mesh decorative basket. We're going to need some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. We're going to need some craft sticks from Lowe's for 98 cents. Now we're also going to need a metal waste basket from the Dollar Tree, or you can use this plastic gutter guard mesh from Lowe's. Now we're going to start off with our tumbling tower blocks. Go ahead and grab your carpenter square. And the first set of blocks we're going to be joining together is 3 pieces. Now I'm going to be using some wood hot glue for my project, but I definitely recommend wood glue to make this super sturdy. So I'm using my wood hot glue to put this together really quickly for you guys, and I'm just going to join the 3 blocks together, making sure you wipe away any glue that oozes out of the seam. Now once you have your 3 pieces, we are going to repeat this to make a total of 8 sets, and here they all are ready to go. So the next set of blocks we're going to be joining together are rows of 5. Now we're going to join these together the same way we did for our 3 block sets. Now here is what it looks like, and we are just going to repeat this until we have a total of 4. Now the last set of blocks we're going to be joining are sets of 2. Now here's a 2-piece set joined together, and we are going to repeat this until we have a total of 4. So now it's time to put our basket together. So I'm taking 2 of the 3-piece sets for the sides and 2 of the 2-piece sets and sandwiching them in between the 3-piece sets. So I'm just going to start adding my adhesive to the end pieces of those 2 block sets, just making sure that that 2 block set is always remains sandwiched in between the 2 3 block sets. And then we're going to close in that top end by adding our final 2 block set there. And then when you add it in there, definitely you want to squeeze, squeeze, squeeze and make sure that everything is nice and tight together until you form this little square here. And now we're just going to repeat it until we have 2 of these squares. So the second piece we're going to be doing are the sides of our little basket. So again, the 3 block sets will be the sides, and we're going to nestle in between 2 of the 5 block sets. Now we're going to join this the same exact way we did for the smaller sets, and here's what one looks like, and repeat it until you have a total of 2. Now you want to wait until these completely set and dry, and then we are going to go ahead and paint these. Now I'm going to be using my white chalk paint to paint these pieces. Now I'm going to be adding a couple of coats on the front side of the basket, so I'm just going to start by adding one of the coats on the front side and making sure you get the inside and the outside edges of the piece. Now here's one painted, and you want to repeat this until all of them are nice and painted, and once they're all painted, let that completely dry. Now once that top is dry to the touch, go ahead and flip them over, and this will be the inside of your basket piece. And then I'm just going to add 1 coat of chalk paint on these pieces on this side. And then once that's painted, let that completely dry. Now all of our pieces are finally dry, and we can move on to adding our mesh inserts. So like I mentioned in the beginning, you can use the Dollar Tree metal waste baskets. You could cut it apart with wire clippers or a sharp pair of scissors to cut out the shapes to fill in your wire mesh. But I found it so much easier to work with the gutter guard mesh that you can get from your local home improvement store, and this is only around $4 or $5, and you get 20 feet of it, so it does last a long time for a lot of projects. So what I'm going to do is take one of my side pieces of my basket, and I'm going to lay that gutter guard mesh right on top. Now how you want this to fit is you want the mesh to go halfway on the block, so one side of the block is exposed. So what I'm doing is taking my little chalk marker and I'm outlining my cut line so it'll fit perfectly on the piece. Now once that's done, I'm just going to go in with a pair of scissors and cut the shape out. This is really super easy to cut with scissors. And then I'm just going to double check the fit, and this is perfect. This is exactly how we want them to fit. Now since we have 2 of the side panels, I'm going to use this piece as a template, and I am going to cut out another piece the same exact size, and I'm just going to trace the outline with my marker again and then cut that out as well. So now I have my 2 side panel mesh pieces. I'm just going to repeat the same process for my end pieces, making sure that they fit the same way. So now all of our pieces are cut out. We can start applying the mesh to the inside of our basket. Now I'm just going to take my wood hot glue, and I'm going to run a bead on one side of the inside of the basket and place the very end of my mesh piece right on top of that glue. Now in order to help it stay in place, you could definitely use some Dollar Tree clips. This actually helps during application. Now once that dries a little bit, we're going to add a bead of glue on the top and the bottom inside edge, and then lay that remainder of the mesh into that glue and let that dry. And then we can finally add the glue to the end to seal the end in. Now after all of this dries, I'm going to follow up with my staple gun, and I'm just going to add just a few staples around it. Now I didn't want to add too many staples in the beginning because these are blocks that are adhered together, and I didn't want to compromise the structure. But once it is dry, it does look really good, and now you just repeat it for the rest of them the same way. And now we can start adhering our box together and building it up. So I'm taking one of the short ends and adding it to the inside edge of one of the long ends. Just add a bead of your glue of choice and then sit that end piece right on the edge, making sure the top and bottoms are aligned. Now once it does set, add another bead of glue on the inside edge. This just adds a little bit more reinforcement since I am gluing together painted surfaces and I didn't want these coming apart. So I'm going to repeat this on the other side the same way, adding that line of glue, pressing your side in place, and then once that does get secured, add your strip of glue in that seam for that piece. And now we can finally add the top piece on. So after it's sat, it is nice and dry, and oops, I forgot to paint a side, but we will be touching that up. So now our box is nice and solid. So we're gonna flip it with the good side facing down, and we're gonna work on the bottom of our box. So to cover it up, I'm gonna be using these craft sticks. I love using these craft sticks from Lowe's. They're 98 cents for now, so load up while you can. And I'm just gonna lay these across the bottom opening. Now to adhere these, I'm just going to add some wood glue or some wood hot glue along that bottom edge, and I'm only going to allow enough glue on there to adhere one stick at a time. If you do a long line and start adding sticks, your glue will dry too quickly and it won't have secure connections, but you just want to add all of these sticks until your opening is entirely covered as shown here. So now I'm just going to lay down my cutting mat and take my utility blade and just run it across the edge of those sticks a couple of times, and they'll just come right off, giving you a nice clean edge on the bottom edge of your basket. We're going to repeat this for the other side, and now all of the edges are nice and trimmed. And now we're going to go ahead and paint the bottom of the basket along with that edge we forgot to paint earlier, and I am going to use my chalk paint. Now when you paint the inside, you just definitely want to be careful. Don't get any paint on the mesh. You just want to make sure you get around the edges first and then cover the entire bottom of the basket. And then once that's done, you get to flip it over and paint the bottom. And here it is, all nice and painted, and let it sit to completely dry. And now the basket has sat for a little while. It is nice and dry and I love it. It looks wonderful and I can't wait to decorate it. And how awesome is this cute little basket? I just love how it turned out. Now I added some greenery bundles from IKEA, but you can use this for the bath, organization, or even in the kitchen. Now the mesh panel accent is really nice, and if you don't want black, this can be easily painted any color you like to match your taste and style. You all have to let me know, where would you use this cute basket in your home decor? This project is for a set of multi-purpose wood stands. So we're going to use some Tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use our stain blocks. Now these are going to be some coasters here. Now what we're going to do is we are just going to lay out 2 blocks starting out on top of some parchment paper. Now you definitely want to use wood glue for this project. So we want to join 2 blocks together. And then we're going to go in with 2 more blocks on top, and we're going to glue those to the center pieces to form a cross. Now once that's done, we're going to take 4 blocks and we're going to join them at the intersection of each side of that cross. Now I'm putting the wood glue on the corners of the block as shown here, because that is the portion of the block that will contact the other blocks. Now you do want to make sure those are nestled real snug into place. Now we're going to do that all the way around, and here are all 4 of those blocks connected. So now we're going to take an additional 8 blocks, and we're going to go around through all those empty spaces, and we're going to join those the same way by adding the glue to the corners. And here is everything joined. Now to reinforce it, all I'm doing is putting a dot of my wood glue right on top of each one of those connections, just for a little bit of reinforcement. And then I'm just tapping each block to make sure they're still snug and ready to go. Now I did want a couple of these, so I'm going to grab some more blocks and I'm going to build a second one. Now here are both of my sets all nice and adhered, and you want to let them sit at least overnight. Now here they are after drying overnight, and you can see these things are solid. They aren't going anywhere. That wood glue works amazing. So I wanted these coasters to not only have things sit on them, but I wanted them to be able to hang. So what I'm going to do is use some fishing line to do this because I didn't want the hanger to be very obvious. So what I'm going to do is cut 2 pieces about 4 or 5 inches long and then fold it in half to make a little loop as shown here. Now once you have your little loop, flip your coaster over and you want to add some hot glue, wood hot glue to the back of one of the shorter ones and put the tail of the loop in that hot glue and let that secure and dry in place as flat as possible. Now as you can see, once that does secure, that loop will stick out from the edge, but the loop isn't really visible unless you are actually looking for it. That way you could still use it as a coaster and it won't get in the way of when you lay it down on a table. Now you just want to repeat this for the other one, and now you have 2 hanging wall decor pieces or coasters. And here you have it. Here are the wood sunburst coasters all hung up and on display. Now these were so super simple, yet they turned out really cute. Now of course you can use these in a coaster style or you could use these as a wall style, but I just placed a couple battery candles on there just in case. Now I just love creating these fun and easy projects that have multiple uses, and I hope these projects today have inspired you. Now as always, I do love them all, but let me know in the comments which one of these projects was your favorite today. Listen, I hope that you all enjoyed seeing these creations again, or for some of you for the very first time. I hope that you all are inspired to create your own tumbling tower creations using the different supplies from the Dollar Tree presented in this video. Now, if you do love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So CraftDee on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. And if you do like videos like these and you don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button below, or just click my She's So Crafty logo on your screen and make sure you hit that bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.